It'll always be freedom. It'll always be freedom.
Hey, anarchists, freedom lovers, and rebels with a cause. Get ready for Liberpulco, the most anticipated anarchist gathering of the year in Europe. Join us at Arc Liberland Village right here in Apatin, Serbia for an unforgettable experience. We're talking inspiring speakers, hands-on workshops to ignite your passions, and epic parties that'll keep you moving all night long. And don't miss the highlight, a boat cruise to Liberland itself. Connect with like minds, share ideas, and build the future we believe in. Grab your tickets now at Liberpulco.com. That's Liberpulco.com. Your freedom, your community, your revolution. See you there.
Welcome to Conversations in Anarchy. My name is Laura, and I'm your host today. Second annual Liberpulco is just around the corner, and today I have the pleasure to talk to one of the speakers on the main stage at Liberpulco, Justin Zalewski. Hi, Justin. Thank you for being here. How are you doing today?
Doing great. Thanks, Lauren. Thanks for having me.
The first question I would like to ask you is, what is freedom to you, and why is it important?
Freedom to me is having the ability to do what you want, when you want, with whomever you want. And I think we live in a system that day by day wants to reduce or completely remove those freedoms. So to me, it is just having that ability to just do what you want when you want without somebody else telling you what you do. And to me, I believe that we are our own highest authority in this universe, and nobody gets to tell us how we should live our lives. But we now live in a world where we have people completely infected with world domination fever, and they're constantly trying to tell us what to do, remove freedoms, only enslave us. And I think we all have a duty to stand up to unjust and tyrannical laws.
So what do you think, why actually most of the people are choosing to live unfreely? Choosing to submit and choosing to let others take the responsibility?
I think a lot of people don't realize the nature of the trap that we're in. We have, entire system that the correct definition that I would give to it is the parasite class. People say the elites, but to me, they are parasites. They take, and give firstly nothing in return. And to me, a lot of people don't even realize what's going on. They own the education system. They own all the governments. They own all the courts. They own all the big corporate companies and stuff. So basically everything that sustains life on this planet, they own. And so we are coerced when we go to school, through our jobs, through our society, and even in the middle of the COVID insanity. What really made it work so well for so many people, as in they would comply, is the herd basically would have turned on them if they didn't stand their ground. And for me, in the middle of COVID, I totally refused to comply with anything whatsoever. I never wore a face mask once. I never did contact tracing. They said you couldn't leave your house. But I have another property 120 miles away in the Republic of Ireland. And I just drove down, driving up the main motorway or freeway for over half an hour, and not even one car passed me coming down the road the other way. And most people are controlled by fear, or again, the propaganda, or they don't do the research, because people really, in most cases, would rather die and think. So for me, I do believe when you see everything that's going on in the world, we're in one of the biggest psychological operations that you could ever imagine. But it's so big and so comprehensive and so vast that most people can't grasp that they could be this sophisticated in their enslavement. But they've been doing this for decades, if not centuries, if not thousands of years. And most people don't want to waken up because the pain of actually facing the reality that they live in would be too much for them to cope with.
Yeah, that I guess that is true. But also, like, some of the people, or many of the people in a freedom movement, and those that believe that are awakened at least enough to notice this and to choose different paths, believe that there is a shift that is approaching and is already in motion. And then sometimes one can hear something like, for example, those that are on the right path will thrive during this next shift or next century, but those that are still under the mind control, and still programmed by television and all the other media might go a very hard path. Do you agree to that? And if yes, then how is it possible for one to kind of judge, am I on the right path, despite I might think that I am awakened and I am, on the right path, but probably I'm mistaken. What do you think about that?
Yeah, well, I mean, I've sort of been doing hypnosis and NLP for probably since about 2003. And I really have went in depth to like mind control and hypnosis and all this cultural insanity that we're experiencing. I mean, many years ago, I wrote a book called Thriving in a Toxic World. And to write that book now would be probably impossible, because I would say at least 90% of the information that I got off the internet no longer exists, because you've got all the algorithmic sanitization of information, that anything that does not conform with their version of reality is completely removed from the internet. But I would say there's probably a third of people that are totally asleep, and, they could be in the presence where their grandma got their booster last week and dropped dead 30 minutes later, but they're still going to get their one this week. And those people are just, they're beyond redemption. We just can't communicate with them. They're so indoctrinated, they're so mind controlled, they're so fear-based that they've lost it. But then you've got maybe another third at the other end that are either fully awake or are in the process of awakening. They may not know exactly what's going on, but they know that whatever they're being told are lies, and that nothing adds up. And so those people are really pushing forward. And those are the people that are being censored the most, that are being arrested, that are being detained, because if their voice didn't matter, they wouldn't want to stop it so much. Then you've probably got about a third of the people in the middle that don't really know what's going on. They're confused. They know that they're being lied to, but they don't know how to sort of figure it out, because there's just too much information all at once, and they get overwhelmed. These are the people that I think we really need to focus on. And I do believe that if we even get 10% of that critical mass to start moving in the right direction, that it will turn the tide. And I can see that happening very, very well, because when they increase censorship massively, when they arrest those people, when they block free speech, when they arrest people that are actually speaking out, like people like even Reimer Fulmick, and then they won't let his lawyer represent them, you can see that forces it into the public domain, and people now are seeing it for what it really is. And again, it'll cause polarization with a lot of people, where the people who are awake will become more awake, and the people that are asleep will become more asleep. But the people in the middle are starting to realize that we are being lied to. They realize that, they don't have money to survive. They're being stripped of their rights. They're building this incredible digital infrastructure even now. I think on the 12th of October in Europe, anybody that holds a UK passport must go through biometric surveillance to be able to travel into Europe. But it's like this 1984 dystopian world is being built right in front of our very eyes. But one of the things that I see as well, it's only a small thing, but lots of the shops that I go into now are saying cash is king. And I think that's really brilliant. It's a small indicator that, things are turning where before they didn't do that. You also notice where I'm having conversations now that I couldn't even have had 5 years ago or 10 years ago or even a year ago. So most of the people that I've talked to, even the ones that were duped into getting a vaccine, there's nobody that I know that would ever get another one. They say, yes, I got it. I made a mistake. I would never get another one. So for them to pull something off like COVID again, it would have to be 10 times more extreme, because the people have become so sensitized to the criminality and the things that are not adding up. And I do see that we are moving forward. It is slowly moving forward slowly. And I do think it'll get a lot worse before it gets better, especially with the incredible amount of deaths and illnesses and injury. But people don't trust the vaccine industry. They don't trust their doctors. They don't trust the pharmaceutical industry. And that's a really positive indicator that, you know, the consciousness is being shifted, and it is being forced to shift by the pain that people are suffering. And there's lots of other indicators that, you know, people are growing their own food. People are standing up. If you look at the amount of people even protesting across the world, I mean, not that protests do much, but before, the world was never that united, where now nearly every country in Europe is standing up saying, we don't want this, and it's getting more and more extreme. And I just see a lot of positive things happening that make me very optimistic about how it's going to unfold.
That's really great to hear. But let's talk about your book, Thriving in a Toxic World. I guess for those that know you already, probably that's the biggest thing. Mm-hmm. Would you like us to tell how did you actually decided to write it? And I heard that it took much longer than you first intended, but how was the journey?
So initially, years ago, wanted to write a book on nutrition, and I started writing. And then when I started researching, I sort of had this cognitive dissonance, because the stuff that I believed about nutrition and the people that I thought were there to protect us, I realized that we're actually the whole entire system was run by criminals. And so for me to take a lot of time and write this, I was calling out the FDA, the CDC, the World Health Organization, McDonald's, the cancer charities, and all these different industries. But I had to make sure that everything that I was writing was factually correct and that I could back up so that I wouldn't get sued. And I just couldn't believe how corrupt these organizations were. I mean, they were just totally corrupt and rotten to the core. The American Dietetic Association used to promote itself that it was the leading provider of nutritional information in the world. But when you read their code of ethics, it was so corrupt, it was so bizarre, and they just had no integrity whatsoever. And at one of their conferences, where people paid $20,000 to have a placement at their events, the people that were providing the food were McDonald's. And I just went, what? I mean, to me, McDonald's is the food company from hell. The food that they provide is not fit for human consumption. And I saw a video on YouTube recently where this homeless guy got these chicken nuggets and set it down and gave it to this stray dog. And the stray dog walked over to it, sniffed it, pissed on it, and walked off. And I thought, even the dog knows that it's not food. You know, and it was a stray dog. And to me, there's just so many of these bizarre things. Again, there was a guy, I think his name was David Noakes, came up with this really incredible solution to help people with cancer. And basically the Medical Health Regulatory Authority come after him and basically stole his house and put him in jail because he was doing something without what they said was unlicensed. Now, he was getting phenomenal results, but in the end, because they couldn't control what he was doing and because he was providing an alternative that was much more effective than any cancer treatment that would be possible by the system, they basically went after him and destroyed his life, and then put his wife, I think his wife or his partner, I think they tried to put her in jail, or maybe she ended up in jail too, and he ended up in jail in France. But again, then you'll see people like Stanislav Brzezinski, and he's been in 2 or 3 documentaries called Cancer is Serious Business. And this guy developed a thing called anti-neoplastons that basically massively helped people with brain tumours and all sorts of cancers. And if it didn't work, it didn't harm them and it didn't make them worse. And they had him up in front of the I think the grand jury in Texas, I think 2 or 3 times spent billions or millions and millions of dollars to try and take his license off him, and in the end they couldn't do it. But the thing is that the cancer industry is so totally corrupt and rotten to the core. Plus, even the way they treat cancer is so barbaric and so outdated that they will in the future look back. And one of the things that I did say in my book is like, you've heard the thing like, don't blow smoke up my ass. Well, years ago, what they used to do is get smoke enemas, where they used to get smoke and stick it up your ass and blow it up your ass because they thought this cured all these things. And that's going to look incredibly advanced compared to the stuff they're doing with cancer treatments now. But also in the UK, under I think it's the 1969 Cancer Act. I can't remember the year, but I think it's around that time. It's illegal for you to say that you can cure cancer. And the system is just corrupt beyond measure. And to me, allopathic medicine is on its way out. It's dying. This is the beginning of the end for it, and people don't trust that it doesn't work. And if you look at the history of people with getting sick, I mean, there was a doctor strike many years ago, and they realized that when the doctors went on strike, people stopped dying. And there was a direct correlation between the doctors on strike and people who weren't dying. And to me, allopathic medicine is so brutal that most of it should be banned. I mean, I think it's excellent if you fall off a motorcycle and you need to get put back together. But if you've got cancer or any of these degenerative diseases or illnesses, the last person I would ever recommend you go to is a guy in a white coat, because he has not got one clue what he's doing. And all you're ever going to get is cut, poison or burn. And you can't cut cancer out of the body, because when you cut it out, all the bits that were left then satellite around your body. Just like when they try to do a biopsy and take a piece of the tumour out, they've just burst something that sealed all the cancer in one place, and then that'll satellite around the body, and it just doesn't work. And you can't poison the body back to health. And chemotherapy is known to cause cancer, and so is radiotherapy. Like anything you burn with radiotherapy, you destroy it and everything else around it. And it's just so barbaric. It's like it should be banned because it's so unethical and so brutal in how they deliver it.
We unfortunately lost one of our grandmothers this year, and that was one of the reasons she got tumor in her cheek, and then she decided to give the responsibility to the doctors, and that we could observe that she got so quickly so much worse after the operation, the surgery, and she chose also to do the not the chemotherapy but this radiation. And she just got so bad that she could not talk almost anymore and could not almost eat anymore. And then, so in the end, she passed away. But I could experience this, one thing, of course, every human being is deciding for him or herself, like, okay, she decided to trust the allopathic medicine and give the doctors the responsibility of her health and life, and then it didn't work out as well. And I mean, if I look at myself, I might know lots of information, could have heard of many things, but I have never faced myself any serious illness and especially like some kind of accidents that I am suddenly in a hospital and then I have to decide on spot, What would you suggest a person that is aware of the harm that allopathic medicine does, but suddenly is faced with a conclusion of an illness from a doctor, or gets into an accident and finds oneself in a hospital, and then how to, because all those things, there are many doctors, and then one is saying one thing, the other one is saying other thing, and sometimes it really feels like they don't have like united view on the situation. Like each one is kind of working on its own, and also like ordinary person doesn't have so much clue on, okay, should I take this medicine? Should I not? Is it going to harm me more than help me? But what is my situation right now? I have no idea. I have no understanding how to act in that kind of situation when there is no like time to do the research or to contact so many, I don't know, friends or speakers from from Anarchapulco or Liberpulco asking for advice. What would you advise a person in this current situation at the hospital, at a hospital?
Yeah. So if you go to a hospital, well, to me, it depends on the situation. Like if you fell off a motorcycle, like I did at one stage, and break bones, I think it's absolutely crucial that you go to the hospital and they can then, check and put you back together. And especially if you're in pain, they can, in rare cases, sometimes medication is useful. But for any other illness that, has developed, like say, for example, cancer, I've been working with clients that have had cancer for years and years and years. And I can tell you within a 3-minute conversation whether that person will live or die with incredible accuracy. And the difference, it makes a difference, is if they believe that the person in the white coat is God, they're probably most likely going to die. And if you want to see a hypnosis induction work really quickly, a person in a white coat and the person saying to you, I'm sorry to tell you, but you've got X amount of weeks to live. If that person believes the doctor, that person will die. And my mother totally believed the doctor. My mother got cancer a few years ago and she died. And we said to the doctor, do not tell her under any circumstances that she's got cancer. And when we left the hospital, the doctor says, look, I'm sorry to tell you, you've got cancer, you've got 2 weeks to live. And my mother died on the day that the doctor told her she was going to die, because she totally always believed the doctor. And as long as the doctor gave her something, that made her happy. And she just liked a little thing, a wee tablet every now and again, and that kept her soothed. But to me, the people that actually live and thrive, well, there's 5 things that I think most people need to do, but the difference that makes a difference ultimately is, where does that person live emotionally? I mean, it's really important that you exercise as much as you can. It's important that you drink clean, quality, filtered water, because if you're not, you're drinking that fluoridated poison. You must detoxify your body and get the poisons out. And then you must nourish the body with proper food that it needs to heal itself. But the most important aspect, and if you don't get this right, the other 4 don't really matter, is where do you live emotionally? And most people have really bad belief systems in relation to their health. And I'll give you an example. I would ask somebody, what are the 5 most important things in your life? And they could tell you, relationships, my children, my job, having a good house, or whatever it is. And health isn't even on their top 5. And so those people in general will sacrifice their health to get the money, to get the happiness, to get whatever else it is. And a lot of times, I mean, people have trauma, and some people have a lot of trauma. And unless you heal from that trauma will never let you get better, because you leak so much energy trying to deal with the trauma that there's very little energy left for the healing, especially if you're doing a lot of stress. Stress is more destructive than smoking. If you smoke tobacco and you're relaxed and enjoying life, you're going to be much healthier than a person that eats a healthy diet and is completely stressed, because stress, when you get stressed, you produce adrenaline and cortisol. And your body, in order to protect itself and also to conserve energy, in the short term, just like when we're in this fight, flight or freeze mode, you can shut down the immune system for a short period of time, because it won't matter. Because, the saber-toothed tiger could have got you, or you're able to run with the adrenaline. But if that is something that's going on and on and on in the background, you end up suppressing your immune system. And then that's why those people always get sick. They're always tired. They're always burnt out. And to me, stress is the biggest one. But ultimately, you must deal and do the inner work and clean up the trauma. And if you don't, it's like trying to battle an illness with massive amounts of your body's internal resources being leaked in a place where there's no benefit.
So is that correct that you would suggest to work with one's subconscious trauma?
Absolutely. I would use the term unconscious, but yes, always, and you need to, counselling in my experience doesn't work. What you need to do is to go in and deal with the problem at the level of which the problem is presenting itself, which is unconsciously, because a lot of people don't know why they're traumatized or why they do what they do. And a lot of times when you take people back on a timeline, and like I remember one lady many years ago, I took her back on a timeline until the point of birth. And she realized that she was being sexually abused when she was less than a year old. And the thing is, your unconscious mind will record every single thing that has happened to you from the day you were born to the day you die. And the thing is, most people don't have the ability to access that. But under hypnosis or in an altered state of consciousness, you can go back to very specific events that your unconscious brings into your awareness to release the trauma that's in there. Because if you don't release that trauma, you're going to develop a coping mechanism to mask or to use as a crutch to get over the trauma that you're living with. And much of that trauma, in many cases, is completely unconscious.
And do you believe that it's possible to heal all the trauma? Or would you suggest, like, for example, if there is a specific illness, it might be something else than cancer, maybe, I don't know, chronic eczema or some kind of other issues that you look, I don't know, how do you actually do it? How do you actually look at the specific trauma that influences the specific health state, for example?
So the good thing about the unconscious is that it can generalize across different contexts. So I could work with somebody that had to give a talk to 200 employees and they're really, really nervous. And they would come to see me and they would want to talk, they would want me to help them with that. And I could take them back in time. And what you'll find out is that when they were 14, they didn't feel accepted because they moved from an old school to a new school. They felt very unaccepted, insecure. They then wanted to feel accepted and they went down to the back of the school, started smoking with the big boys and girls, felt accepted, even though they lit up that cigarette and they coughed and smoked, their eyes watered and it felt horrible. Their desire to be accepted was much greater than the discomfort of the short term of the tobacco smoke. And so I could find that I try to find a low self-esteem. I would find that would maybe be his earliest memory and then take him back and find that there's earlier memories. But once you clean up this low self-esteem, in nearly all cases, the person would lose the desire to smoke because the smoking was the vehicle to meet the need for acceptance. And so what you always want to do is find a much more ethical way to preserve the original positive intention of why the person developed the habit in the first place. And when you clean that up, what you'll find is that they lose their desire to smoke, or the coping mechanism that they developed will disappear once you deal with the trauma because the driver is no longer there.
But do you then believe that there are, like, I guess in most of the people we have some kind of issues with our esteem. Most people have low self-esteem and self-doubt and are also afraid of the unknown, afraid of the possibility of failure. Rather to stick to the known and the boring or harmful and whatever it is then to try something new because it can be too difficult, too scary, too big failure. So would you suggest like every person to work with these kind of basic things? Or
To me, one thing that I think is really important that you do is that you do work on cleaning your trauma up to the best that you can. If it's something that's too big right now, that's okay, leave it, but work on the smaller things, because this is what happens. Say, for example, somebody did come to see me and I work on something and I clean up a big chunk of something that really had a lot of trauma in them, and you completely release that. So what'll happen is then the unconscious, maybe a few days or a few weeks or a few months later, after it's healed, will then bring something else up for you to clean up, because there's layers and layers and layers, just like the layers of an onion. But the thing is that most people don't want to deal with their trauma because it's unpleasant. So they develop these elaborate coping mechanisms like shopping, or they'll smoke, they'll drink alcohol, or they'll watch television incessantly, or they'll be on their phone all day, or whatever. It'll just be anything to distract them from having to actually look at themselves. And one of the things that I did maybe 10 or 15 years ago was a thing called Vipassana. It's like a 10-day Buddhist meditation, where you sit in silence. You get up at 4 a.m. in the morning and you meditate to 9 p.m. at night. And you get maybe an hour and a half for lunch, and your last meal is at 11:30 in the morning. And what I noticed with that is that sometimes there was people there on the first day and they couldn't tolerate not doing something, and they had to leave. It just drove them crazy. And for me, it was difficult to do. Sitting in a very stationary position is incredibly painful on your legs, especially if you're sitting in the lotus position. But most people can't sort of tolerate the suffering of their own existence. And so they then develop these elaborate coping mechanisms. But as you clean each layer up, it gets easier and easier and easier. It's just that we live in a world that they don't want us to clean our trauma up, because people that are in pain, people that are wounded, people that are injured are very easy to control. But a person who knows who they are and has healed themselves will not allow anybody to bully them around no matter what. And so we have a system that rewards narcissistic behavior, and the more idiotic and the more out of control you are, the more you're promoted in our society. We have these, like the amount of hypnosis and mind control that we see in our culture and our society, with just advertisements, with all these different sources of information. It just completely and utterly confuses people. And when people get confused and overloaded, they just switch off. And then that allows the information to go in deeply into their unconscious. So that's why television is so bad or so negative, because after being hit with all these different things from multiple sources, once the conscious mind gets overloaded, it just sort of switches off. And that's how hypnosis works. When you want to hypnotize somebody, you control their focus consciously by what they're looking at, what they're seeing, what they're experiencing. And you just keep layering that in. And eventually, when you have so many layers going in, the conscious mind can't cope with that. And then you start to put stuff in deeply into their unconscious mind. And we are being bombarded with hundreds, if not thousands, of subliminal messages every day. And unless you're incredibly aware of what's going on, you'll end up being influenced by this on a negative way. And the concerning thing is that you're not even aware that you're being influenced by these criminals that are running the entire hallucination that we're living in called society.
So, for example, for the person who, as you described, is starting to wake up and is kind of on the fence, not really understanding, what is what and what to do exactly, what would be the first step? Like switch off the television and newspapers, or because
Well, to
I
me,
doubt that they're gonna start immediately with the trauma healing.
no, the best thing to do is, first of all, is be willing to accept that you have been influenced unconsciously by the forces that want us to do that. Question everything, even what I'm saying. The worst thing you could do is take my word for it. Go and do your own research. The problem is that most of the information out there is so corrupted and so controlled by the AI algorithms and the people that own all the infrastructure and all the news. Get independent sources of news that you trust. Don't take anybody's word for it. And ask yourself a question: can I trust this source? How trustworthy is this source? And look at things long term. Look back, where was this person a year ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago? If a person was behaving unethically and was manipulative 10 years ago, then it's most likely that that person is not a good person today. You look at all these grifters that basically in the middle of COVID, you had like Piers Morgan, you had Dr. McGraw, and all these different people that were all promoting get the vaccine, and now they're saying, "Oh no, we got it wrong." But these people were absolutely committed to getting you to do what they wanted to do, and that person didn't have integrity 5 years ago, so they're not going to have integrity now. They basically use their position of influence to try and make people comply with what they believed or what they were told to say. But people need to not, it's not, you don't want to be paranoid, but you want to be healthy and skeptical about what it is that people tell you and do the research. I mean, it's quite simple. Like, okay, Pfizer in 2009 were fined 2.3 billion with a B, billion dollars for all their criminality. But if you go back and you look at other things, they were fined 400 million for something else. And if you look at it, they were fined so many times because they did this over and over and over again. Like, that company has not changed its practices. It's just got more deceptive in not getting caught at what it does. It's the same with all these other pharmaceutical companies. They're just corrupt and rotten to the core. So you need to question everything that you come across. Find people that, to me, if I want to learn anything, the first thing I would do is find the best person in the world at what they do and then go and learn from them. Because that person could teach you something in 20 minutes that took them 40 years to perfect. But the thing is, how do you know if he's a good person or she's a good person or not? Sometimes you don't know, but you have to trust your intuition. If something doesn't add up, then go and dig deeper. Be willing to look at the things that nobody else wants to look at, because this is the thing. Your blind trust could cost you your life, and for many people it has. And it's just so sad to see there's so many people that are just dropping dead on a daily basis because they trusted their doctor or they trusted their family or whatever. Don't take advice from somebody that doesn't know what they're talking about. And this is the thing. There are some good doctors out there, but in general, most of them are absolute crooks. They've no idea what they're doing, and they promote products that they, first of all, don't understand, and also, in another case, they benefit massively from that. And when you've got somebody that's incentivized to sell you a product because they're rewarded, you're not getting impartial advice anymore. You're getting advice by somebody that has commercial interest in you doing what they want you to do.
Yeah, so then, as you said, the information, even in this, as we would call it, alternative medicine and alternative therapies and this kind of healthy side of the healthcare, that also can sometimes be very difficult to understand, because there are so many different practitioners and so many views on, for example, the same thing. I don't know, have you watched, for example, Jeff Berwick's talk to Dr. Anna Michalce? if I
Yeah.
pronounce it correctly.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
this that talk and
Yes, this is where Jeff had the nanotech in his.
yes,
Yeah.
nanotech and
Yeah.
nanorobots and chips in the blood, and at the same time, there are people that have been working with the blood microscopy
Yeah.
and have been interpreting the same images totally differently, and it's called holographic blood, for example, and they don't even want to be associated with the live blood analysis at all because they feel that they see and have been seeing for more than 35 years something totally else, while other practitioners claim that it's nanorobots and chips and whatever that is in the blood. Like, for example, in a case like this, how would you do your own research?
Well, to me, I did get live blood analysis done probably about 15 years ago. I think it's incredibly accurate and it gives you a wonderful snapshot of what's going on in your blood. So the fact that somebody doesn't want to look at their own blood, I would ask, why would they not want to look at their own blood? To me, I think it is a very valuable thing. But when you look at the environment, with the amount of people who have been vaccinated, with the shedding, with the tsunami of chemtrails that we're being rained down upon on a daily basis. I mean, when you look at your car windscreen or windshield, there's all this grey dust on. When you scrape it, you've seen so many videos with people with magnets doing that. So I don't know if I have any nanotech in my blood or not. But yes, the EDTA that she talked about, I think, is great. But also what's brilliant is the French green clay, the diatomaceous earth, and the bentonite clay. And all these clays are very negatively charged. And most toxins and heavy metals are very positively charged. So when you're putting it into your body, the two of them are going to attract each other and lock into each other, and then you're going to be able to excrete it and eliminate it. But to me, this is the thing I hear just slightly similar is like you get people and they get ill for whatever illness that they get, say even cancer, and then they'll say, oh, I'm taking the cannabis oil. And the cannabis oil can be one of maybe 100 things that are absolutely brilliant. But this is the thing, no matter what, whether you have nanotech in you or not, are you leading a diet and a lifestyle that's cleansing your body on a daily basis? Or are you leading a lifestyle that's is toxifying your body and making it sicker every day? And this is what I see with the people that a lot of times they get sick. They'll say, oh, well, I took the ivermectin, something personally I would never take, because when you look at the ingredients in it, I think they're really toxic, and they're also made for the pharmaceutical industry. And there's a lot of people really promoting it. But when you do the research on it, I personally have never taken it, and I never would, because it's the pharmaceutical company that makes it. And in some cases, it may be a lot better than anything else. But to me, I personally wouldn't touch it. But when you see these people, they'll say, I'm taking the cannabis oil, but they're still eating microwave food, they're still taking processed food, they're still taking sugar, they're still taking alcohol, they're still taking tobacco, they're still not exercising, they're still not detoxifying their body. And so a lot of people use this as an excuse to be irresponsible and to lead the life that made them sick in the first place. And one of the things that I see with people a lot is they get sick, and they'll say, right, I took this supplement, and they still behave totally irresponsibly with all the other parts of their lifestyle. And to me, we're living in times now where the air we breathe, the soil that our food's grown in, and the water we drink, everything that supports life is being systematically poisoned. This is an insane world. It's totally unacceptable, but it's been normalised by the people and the psychopaths running the world. But anybody now that basically wants to live in a clean environment is almost branded a terrorist, as if it's something so radical. But people don't realise the nature of the trap they're in. And even if you're sick, no matter what the illness is, clean up the rest of your life that you have full control over. Exercise, drink the clean water, get a filter. If you're not filtering your water, you're the filter. deal with the trauma, because that's what's going to keep you trapped in a dysfunctional pattern. And exercise, your body needs to move. We're not designed to sit. And they say now that sitting is the new smoking. We need to really make health, or if you want to be healthy, make health your number one goal in life. Because if you don't, the money or the fame or the toys or the cars or whatever it is that you want will take priority, and you'll end up sacrificing your health to get all the things that you want. And I remember a guy, I worked with him about maybe 15 years ago, and he basically, in his model of the world, being big and super strong was really important to him. So he took lots of steroids, lots of powders, all the stuff that anybody gave him, and he blew up, and he was a really big, fit-looking guy. And he ended up developing type 1 diabetes by doing all that to his body. And I gave him one supplement, and it was chlorella. And chlorella is just really good for pulling heavy metals out of your body. It's good for alkalizing your body, and it's a good source of protein and stuff. So I got him to take this for 1 week. I just gave him a pack of it. And within 1 week, he was able to reduce his insulin dependency by 50%. Now, I would have thought that after that, he would have come back and says, could I get some more of that? But he didn't. He just went back to eating all the crap. And the thing is, he didn't even stop eating all the crap. This was just taking this one supplement on his own. And so in people's model of the world, if they don't make health their number one goal, one thing that I'll tell you for absolute certain is if you don't make time for your health and healing now, you most definitely are going to have to make time for sickness and disease later on in your life. And I'm telling you that a little bit of prevention is way, way easier than a lot of trying to remedy or cure what it is you have further down the road.
So then, what could you describe like your daily diet? What are the healthy habits that you follow after knowing all the things that you know?
So for me, health is my number one value in life, no matter what. And people will say, well, what about happiness? But you could be, 150 kilos and be blissfully happy, and yet you're a walking time bomb. So to me, health needs to be the number one foundation. But just to pre-frame it slightly, people in their hierarchy of values value different things in different ways. So for me, when I say health, so most people, when you ask them what they want out of life, they'll tell you that they don't want to be stressed, they don't want to be in debt, and they don't want to have, a bad relationship, and they'll tell you everything they don't want. And your unconscious mind is always seeking to get you more of what you focus on. So this is just the way it's designed. Whatever you consistently focus on will become your reality. If you focus on what you don't have and what's not working and why things aren't working out, just like when you're watching stuff on social media, it's okay and it's good to know what's going on in the world. But if you're consuming that on a daily basis, you are creating your reality with your thoughts, your focus, and your unconscious is going to find more of what it is that you completely focus on. And most people, in their hierarchy of values, what you'll find is that they've wired their brain that they can access negative states very easily, and that they'll have really complex rules about what allows them to feel absolutely great. So for me, health being my number one value, I'm up at 5:30 every morning. So as soon as I get up, I drink a pint of warm water, because the warm water won't shock your liver. And you're hydrating yourself after, breathing all night, you're going to be slightly dehydrated. Then I walk for 35 minutes around the hills, and that's just really good, just to get your cardiovascular health up, to get into the fresh air, to get into nature, to be in around the birds and the trees. Then when I come back from that, I then go to the gym and I work in the gym for 20 to 30 minutes. That'll, again, lets me feel really great about my health. Then when I come back from that, I have a sauna in my house, a far, mid and near infrared sauna, so a full spectrum sauna. So I sit in that sauna for 30 minutes and do that. And then once I finish that, I then come in and sit here where you see me sitting, and I'll meditate for an hour to an hour and a half every day. And then I don't eat before 11:30. and I don't eat after 4:30. So I fast for 19 hours a day, and I've been doing that for over 10 years. Also, whenever I get out of the shower, out of the sauna, I always do as cold a shower as I can get it. So I always do a freezing cold shower, because when you're in the sauna, you get this great vascular expansion, and you're detoxing, you're flushing out all the toxins, and then you're then getting a vascular contraction. And so it's a really good vascular workout as well. It improves your skin, your mood, your sleep, everything. So it's just a fantastic thing to do. And then when I eat, I say eat at 11:30. So I eat superfoods. So things like goji berries, hoshu, wu, maca powder, maybe an organic banana thrown into the bowl, and I've blueberries growing outside, so I'll take some blueberries off my tree, and then I'll put in things like sesame seeds, buckwheat groats, and just maybe 20 or 30 different superfoods and powders, and I eat that, and then that just keeps me going. Like, sometimes I only eat once a day, but usually mostly twice a day. But if I'm home after 4:30, I just miss that meal, and I just eat the next day. But when you intermittent fast, it forces your body to burn fat as a fuel and not sugar. Plus, if you have eaten a meal that you haven't fully digested and consumed before you're going to bed, your body's going to convert that to fat to store for potential fuel the next day. So I go to bed at 10:30 every night, and I'm up at 5:30 every morning. But I spend 9 hours a day on me, 8 hours a day working on whatever I want to work, and 7 hours a day sleeping. Plus, I also sleep on an earth bed that has over half a mile of silver thread in it, so I'm connected to the earth, because I'm grounded while I sleep as well. And so when you do all these things in combination, you're setting the game up to win. And so maybe in the evening, like today, I have 2 avocados. I'll probably have just those 2 avocados. I might have, maybe I'll put some Himalayan salt on it. And if I had a lemon, I would maybe put a drizzle of lemon juice on it. And those 2 avocados would probably do me. Sometimes I would eat meat, but it would have to be from an organic source, or a source that I really trusted. I wouldn't eat processed meat. It would have to be, fresh meat. But I find that in general, I only eat meat maybe once or twice a week, but I do feel that my body needs a little bit of meat every now and again. But for me, just going from eating like 4 or 5 times a day to do an intermittent fasting, it's a wonderful thing for your body. It helps your body regenerate faster and any other way. I think it's just wonderful. I don't feel hungry now. I mean, if I didn't eat today, it wouldn't bother me. Where before, when I was eating all that other stuff and I was eating throughout the day, I was always hungry, and if I didn't get food, I really felt it. But that's one thing that massively can transform the quality of your life. Just doing that intermittent fasting, it just makes such a difference. You're going to be healthier. And at times I went where, at one stage, I had a company and I sold it, and I thought it's off to see the world. And I was on probably 85 planes and helicopters in a space of 15 months. And I was working at events around the world, and some of these events would have had 18,000 people at them. And sometimes I would do 8 20-hour days in a row, fly back home, be here for one day, and then I could fly to Australia, the next day and stuff. And I did that quite a lot, and I didn't get sick. And I even got my live blood analysis done in the middle of when I was doing that. And they looked at it and when they looked at it, it says your body's, they could see that there was some impact on the body, but I didn't feel stressed. And it says that, no, you handle stress incredibly well. And it also says, I can see I've had a serious trauma there. And at one stage I did have a motorcycle accident where I basically broke my left arm. I ripped this finger open on I got 12 stitches. The tendons were hanging out. I had a hole in my right leg. I had concussion. I had whiplash. I had visual distortions, and they thought I'd broken my back. So I was on a stretcher for about 5 hours before they let me go to the bathroom. But I was able to go through that entire process without feeling any pain whatsoever. But it was because of the relationship that I had with my unconscious mind. And so we all have this incredible ability to heal ourselves. But the important thing is that you must give your body the right food. And most people, especially when I work with people that are ill, think that their diet's not too bad. But in reality, in most cases, people's diets are absolutely dreadful, and they're eating things that they think that are healthy, that are just marketed really well. But when you look at the sugar content or you look at the ingredients, you realize that it's just a chemical shitstorm and it doesn't belong in your body.
So it sounds like really great, but it sounds also that you are most probably living alone. What would you suggest for the families with kids, like when it's not possible to work for 35 minutes every morning and take sauna and meditate, like at least so great amounts of time?
Yeah, to me, try and get into nature, even with whatever, no matter what age your children are. Can you do 10 minutes a day? Try and find that you get 10 minutes in nature every day minimum, and if you do that every day, at least you're connecting with nature and you're getting out of this sort of cyberspace. Try and eat as healthy as your budget will allow you. If you can, even do things like sprouting, where you can sprout seeds on your windowsill. Try and eat the best quality food you can. And microwaves, I mean, there's a lot of people still use microwaves. And ultimately, you're paying. But they say that, they're so convenient. And the question I always ask them, is the price of convenience worth the price of your health? And ultimately, like microwave food, I mean, it's just not fit for human consumption. The way microwaves work is they rub the water particles in the food at several million times per second, and that friction generates the heat. And that's why they tell you to leave it for 5 minutes after you've microwaved it, and most people don't. And that process is still going on within the food while you're eating it. So even eating microwave food, you're going to treble your risk of stomach cancer. Plus, I always say to people, do this simple experiment. Go and buy a little plant from your supermarket, like say parsley or some little herb, and get 2 of them that are identical. Feed one with water from your normal tap, and then feed the other one with water that you've microwaved. Let it cool completely so it doesn't burn the plant. And water the plant with the microwave water. And what you'll see is within 2 to 3 days, the plant that you've watered with microwave water will die, and the other plant will thrive. So whatever you're putting into your body, there was a nurse many years ago. A woman was getting a blood transfusion and the blood was really cold. So the woman put it in the microwave for 20 seconds or 30 seconds just to take the chill out of the blood. She then gave the woman the blood transfusion and she died shortly after. Because microwaves completely obliterate the intelligence or the life force within the food. That celery that was growing in the ground, it's getting all this cosmic energy and the nutrients from the soil and stuff, has the intelligence within it that when you eat it, it tells your body what to do. But when you microwave it, it's like hitting it with a nuclear bomb. You've obliterated the intelligence within the food, and it still might look like a piece of celery or a bean or whatever it is, but it's completely, like at the basic level, completely obliterated, and you've destroyed it. And so try and eat food that is as natural as possible. Try and eat food that is in season. Try and grow your own food, or find somebody that grows your own food that you can get some natural stuff. Stay away from the stuff that's sugared. And a very, very simple guideline is, if it's advertised on TV, you cannot eat it. You just know it comes from a chemical factory shitstorm that is going to destroy your health. And don't listen to the propaganda. And the thing is the parasites in your body, most people are loaded with parasites. You need to get rid of the parasites, because that's where the sugar cravings and the cravings for all the chemicals come from. And if you really like it, it's because the parasites usually like it. And if you don't like it, it's usually because the parasites don't like it. So you want to start cleansing your body, exercise in whatever way you can do. Like for me, when I'm traveling, and it's times I used to travel a lot, I just have a golden rule that I never take the elevator anywhere. So if I'm on the 22nd floor, I'm running up the stairs with my luggage after I've been flying. And that's just a rule. I don't care. I just refuse to use the elevator. But it's just the way. I remember traveling once, and I was coming through Covent Garden in London. And Covent Garden has a spiral staircase that goes up 193 steps. It's a really tight spiral case. And I remember having a 20-kilo bag with me, and I ran those 193 stairs. And I mean, apart from the stink of the London Underground, when I got to the top, I was absolutely exhausted and my legs turned to jelly. But that was, a good workout session at the gym. And so that's how I allow myself to stay healthy, even when I'm not. If I was somewhere and I couldn't get to the gym, get a chair and sit on, put your arms behind it and do dips on the floor or stick your feet onto the sofa and do a few sit-ups. Even if you can only do 10 sit-ups, but do what you can all the time. And one of the things that I see a lot, excuse me, is in the gym after Christmas and the holidays, is you get these New Year's resolution people that come to the gym, and they come in and they really take over the gym for about 10 days and you can't get going anywhere, and then they all disappear. But the reason I think why most of them don't, well, first of all, they lie to themselves saying, well, I'll eat whatever I want coming up to Christmas because I'll go to the gym after Christmas and lose the weight. But when they go, then the gym's tough and they don't like it. So in the end, what they do is they push too hard, they get sore muscles, they associate pain with the gym, and then they don't go back. And so the thing to do is to do small things consistently. These are the things that are going to allow you to set the game up to win. And it's really important that you just do, even if you can do 10 minutes of meditation a day or 10 minutes of walk a day or 10 minutes in nature, what you're starting to do is to influence your unconscious mind and create new neurological pathways in your brain. And eventually what you'll find is that after 3 months or 6 months, the 10 minutes in nature that you struggle to do at the start, you can do with 30 minutes. And it's down to priorities. I mean, is your life so busy, so complicated, so insane that you can't find even 10, 20, 30 minutes a day for you to do something that's really going to do something wonderful for your health? I remember when I had one of my companies years ago, and I just wanted to meditate. And so I just got up 30 minutes earlier and I sat and meditated for 30 minutes. And that 30 minutes allowed me to go into work and feel much more calm, much more grounded, and have much more clarity. And I was way more productive getting 30 minutes less in bed and doing it than getting the extra 30 minutes in bed. And to me, it was just something that was, I just make it a must. If you make it a must, you're going to find a way to do it. But if it's something that you'd like to do, when something else comes along, you're going to put it to the side. And doing small things consistently over a long period of time is what's going to help you get the results you're looking for.
Okay. That makes sense. But right now, I have so many questions still, but I see that I'm not going to be able to ask all of them. But can you give us a little sneak peek into what you're going to be talking about at the Liberpulco?
Yeah, basically, one of the things that I think is incredible is the talk I'm going to do is finding the healer within. Most people don't realize how to get connected to their body to heal themselves. And your body wants to heal itself. It loves to heal itself. It really is designed to heal itself. But what stops us is the environmental toxins, the stress, the noise, all these different things, the foods that we eat. And so when you cultivate the relationship with your unconscious mind, that's going to allow you to intuitively know what to do and what not to do. And most people don't understand how to even cultivate that relationship. And I'll give you a small example. Say you have a headache. What would you normally do to deal with that headache?
I don't know, because I really seldomly get a headache, but most of the people might take some painkillers, I guess.
Yeah. So when you take painkillers, that is one of the worst things you could ever do, because the pain that your headache is giving you is this beautiful communication from your unconscious mind. It's telling you that there's something wrong. You're either stressed, you're dehydrated, you're toxic, you need to eat, or whatever it is, but it's a feedback mechanism. And so the thing that most people do is they shoot the messenger and think that that's the problem solved. That's like you driving down the road in your car and the oil light comes on and you take the bulb out and go, that's that problem solved. Well, you've just put yourself in even more danger than when you were initially, because now not only have you got the issue of why the headache is just the symptom, getting rid of the symptom is never going to resolve the underlying issue. And this is how allopathic medicine works. And so when you cultivate that relationship with your unconscious mind, it will allow you to do things that are almost like beyond what humans can do. And one of the things that I could do now, I would never recommend this under any circumstances, but I've had root canals done. I think they're really bad. And unless you have an incredibly powerful functioning immune system, I would never recommend getting a root canal done. But I've had several root canals done without any anesthetic whatsoever and felt no pain. And that's because my unconscious mind knows that I will never abuse it and that I have always cultivated a relationship with it. And so it allows me a huge degree of control over my unconscious, because it knows that I'm in alignment with its values or its need to keep me protected at all times. But a lot of people, what they will do is if they could, they would switch the pain off so that they become even more reckless. And you have to be very aware of what's going on in your body. And most people have got too much noise going on to even hear the whispers from their unconscious mind. And that's why they get sick. And like Milton Erickson, one of the greatest hypnotists that ever lived, said, patients become patients because of a lack of rapport with their unconscious. And cultivating that relationship is going to allow you to, like, if you develop this relationship with your unconscious mind, you never need to be sick another day in your life.
Yeah, I can totally relate to that. I have been used to abuse my own body since the childhood to be a good girl and not to feel emotional about pain or whatever. So do I understand correctly? So you're going to be talking about how to find your own inner healer at the conference.
Oh, yes, and maybe expand about how that influences by things like mind, how our minds are controlled by our environment, what we believe, what we filter through our awareness. Ultimately, gets like whatever we allow into our mind gets reflected onto the screen of life, just like a film going through a projector. And so you have to be very aware of the language that you use, the people you surround yourself with, and also the meaning you give to events, because, two identical brothers could have the same experience. One of them, goes out and becomes a world champion in the sport. The other one's on drugs and can't cope because they give it a different meaning, or they interpret it very differently. And so basically, I'm trying to help people become dehypnotized to have full possession of their own minds. And I think that starts with healing ourselves from within, both physically, emotionally, and spiritually. And a lot of people are just very disconnected from themselves, and helping people get reconnected to themselves makes them incredibly powerful. And you can't be controlled once you own yourself and you know who you are.
Are there any other projects? So you're going to be attending Liberpulco soon.
Yeah.
Like in the beginning of September. So it's going to be for our audience who's coming. Yeah. It's going to be a possibility to meet you live and talk to you and listen to you. Mm-hmm. Are there any other projects, events that you are participating at, or would others?
I'm working on I'm working on a second book. Well, I've actually probably another 2 or 3 books that I've started, but I haven't really, it's just my energy. I have to focus on certain things at a time. But I'm working on a second book that I will publish next called Awakening into Consciousness. So, that sort of has been taking a bit of my time recently. But no, for me, I just find that, when you get into a state of certain consciousness, you can flow through life in a beautiful way that things just unfold for you. I grew up with a guy, and he said to me, if you fell down in dog shit, he says you would get up smelling of roses. And I says, that's not true. I says, if you fell down in dog shit, you would be so busy complaining and get so pissed off that you've fallen that I would be away down the road and found the next opportunity while you were still complaining. And to me, this is the thing, in life, stuff is going to go wrong. And in life, one of the biggest transformational things that happened to me when I was a teenager was I realized that in life, there are always going to be lessons. And I used to be just wouldn't say very action prone, but there were times in my childhood that I would have been in hospital several times per week with serious injuries. I just was one of those. And I realized that in life, that life was going to teach me lessons. And the biggest thing that probably changed my path in life was I knew I was going to have lessons, but I chose to learn those lessons as effortlessly as I possibly could. Because before I had a belief that any lesson in life that I was going to learn, I always learned things the hard way. And that belief was really detrimental, and I ended up doing crazy things. But changing that belief completely transformed my life. And yes, we're all going to have life lessons, but I energetically know that I'm going to learn those lessons as effortlessly as they need to be. And, I've had some very unpleasant lessons in life, but you cannot allow what's going on in that outer world to affect your inner world. And that's where the importance of always taking time for yourself every day, making sure that you charge yourself up first. So when I see clients, I've worked on myself at least 6 to 8 hours every day before I would ever see a client. So I'm always in a peak state. I'm always in a place where I'm grounded. I have clarity of mind, and I've always taken care of me. And then in that place, it allows me to go out and take care of other people and help them to heal themselves, because this is a thing. And probably 80% of my clients are women, because men in general don't want to come and see you. And it's just not the way they are. But a lot of times it's the women that have come to see me saying, my partner, my boyfriend, he's coming to see us. So they then are sent, or their parent, will bring their child. But this is the thing. You must be willing to participate in your own rescue. Because we live in a world now where you've got people that the more doomed you are, the more trauma you have. And it's almost like they're out competing in victimhood. And there's a whole massive multi-billion-dollar industry, the victimhood industry. And we need to realize that you may be getting all this attention, but it's keeping you trapped in a really dysfunctional pattern that you're never going to escape, and you're never going to have happiness in your life when you're caught in that mindset.
Yes. So where can people find you if they want to check out do you have a website, or are you on, where are you at?
So my website is thrivinginatoxicworld.com. They can get me there. I'm also on X, just my name, Justin Zalewski. And also if they want to buy my book, they can get it on Amazon. And for those people that are attending Anarchapulco, they can download my book for free, and I'll give the discount code out for people that are in attendance or are on the live stream, so they can get a copy of my book for free on the live stream or in person at the event.
Okay, that's really great. So guys, check it out, what Justin is working on. Buy his book or come to Anarchapulco and get it for free and get to meet him. So first in the beginning of September at Liberpulco, and then in February at Anarchapulco. Is that right, Justin?
Well, I mean, it'd be great to speak at Anarchapulco, but I haven't been invited yet, so that may not be factually correct.
But you are coming either way.
I will
The
probably,
speaker?
I will probably come to it anyway. Yes, unless something crazy happens, but it's on my to-do list.
So then, Liberpulco is the first chance anyway, right now. So thank you so much for the time and all the information. I believe that not only me, but many of our people in our audience have many questions to ask you. So yes, thank you so much for today.
Thank you.
Hey, anarchists, freedom lovers, and rebels with a cause. Get ready for Liberpulco, the most anticipated anarchist gathering of the year in Europe. Join us at Arc Liberland Village right here in Apatin, Serbia for an unforgettable experience. We're talking inspiring speakers, hands-on workshops to ignite your passions, and epic parties that'll keep you moving all night long. And don't miss the highlight, a boat cruise to Liberland itself. Connect with like minds, share ideas, and build the future we believe in. Grab your tickets now at Liberpulco.com. That's Liberpulco.com. Your freedom, your community, your revolution. See you there.